Good morning, Scott here, known as Cantaloupe to some online, and I'm bringing a video to you on a subject that's interesting to me. It might be of interest to you or someone you know. And I mentioned in a previous video that I've been watching a show called Good Witch on the Hallmark Channel. I like this show for its positivity and its low noise. I can watch it while I'm working, for example, and it has some very interesting actors and covers some interesting ideas, not all of which I agree with. And in my previous video, I tackled one of those ideas where the main character, who's played by Catherine Bell, her name's Cassie in the show, she says things to the effect of anger has no purpose. And I don't want to rehash that because you can watch that video if you want. But there is another issue that I have not mentioned that goes on in the show, and it's actually a big question, not just in the show, but in life. And the show tackles the question. The question is, what is the propriety and effects of female polyamory? They do cover this in the show, turns out. There's a bit of romance, there's some drama that goes on. It's low intensity, like I said, but she does tackle some of these questions. The writer, I think that Catherine Bell has a large influence on the story writing in the show. It's just the impression I get. But anyway, the question of female polyamory and its effects. I have thought a lot about this, and there's a male knee-jerk reaction to the idea. Until men are programmed otherwise, the instinct is to feel jealous. When your girlfriend is making eyes with another man, is being approached by another man, and there's a very good reason for this, obviously, because in the jungle, so to speak, the figurative jungle, you would not necessarily know who the father was if she got pregnant. So this is really the basis. Short story. I mean, in the show, they have no scarcity. I want to put that right out there. There's no scarcity whatsoever. Everybody's living these ridiculous lives where they just barely have to work. They can give their products away, and everybody's happy as a clam. There's no problems whatsoever. I mean, they do have police, and sometimes it's anecdotal, but there really is no scarcity to speak of in the show. In the jungle, the figurative jungle, I just mean in a state of nature when people are living closer to the earth and there is actual scarcity sometimes, problems with resources, problems with identifying who the father is, and this is where it gets interesting, because it is never in question who the mother is, and this is just a logical fact. Because the mother gets pregnant, by definition, a female carries the baby for 9 months. There's never any question about who the mother is. But there's almost always a question, turns out, of who the father is. And this is also, as an aside, the basis for why marriage was invented, if you will. It's so that the family can know who to bill, who to expect to be financially responsible, to be present and accountable for this new mouth to feed. And if you think that that's not significant, well, maybe you're living in a good witch kind of community where there's very little scarcity. But I assure you, in most of the world still to this day, resources are a huge consideration. And a new mouth to feed can make or break a situation. It can actually kill off an existing child in many cases. Whether it's a human family or an animal family, it makes no difference. There isn't always enough to feed an unlimited number of people. And besides that, there's the ethical question of, shouldn't the child know, without needing laboratories with DNA tests, who the father was? Because when a female is having multiple partners, multiple sex partners, with the purpose of ostensibly having a family at some point, then the baby won't know. Nobody will know, necessarily. If she's been with multiple genetic donors, so to speak, in the same period of time, there is no way to know unless she does genetic testing. So it really comes down to this. Without contraception, which is an artificial man-made invention, without DNA testing in laboratories to do it, which is also an artificial man-made invention, you have a situation where you are, as a species, becoming, by degrees, more and more dependent on artificial man-made infrastructure. Here's your trouble, because this stuff costs money. It demands other infrastructure. It demands taxation. It demands stratification of society into classes, and you have bigger problems. As soon as you start leaning heavily as an expectation, as a beginning policy, we're going to say we're going to start with needing hospitals. We're going to start with needing contraception. We need DNA laboratories for genetic testing now, and we're going to expect that we have zero problems with resource availability. Scarcity is never going to be a problem here. Okay, if all that's a given, sure, but in most of the world it's not. And anywhere besides in the human domain, it's not. That's not the reality. Animals don't have access to genetic testing. They can't abide by that. I mean, I'm just saying, a lot of people still live in the jungle, literally. A lot of people still do. And a lot of people don't have the time or wherewithal to head on down to the fertility clinic to find out who the father was. Besides the point that there's a male emasculation factor here. It's from the female point of view. Now, this is also a thing. Okay, I would be remiss to fail to mention this. So I understand the impulse. I understand the desire, but it is just an impulse. And if we indulged every impulse, where would we be? Okay, so temptation should sometimes be resisted. This is really what it comes down to. Understanding and deciding what is proper in terms of indulgence. For me, and I keep saying this in so many videos, it's not about sex. It's about the bigger picture, which includes sex. Sex is the celebration of the bigger picture itself, which is quality time, fidelity, and so hopefully some kind of plan for the future, an expectation of permanency, right? So the only way this can work without all that infrastructure is when the female is loyal to a single potential donor if she is fertile. If she is fertile, if she's going to get sterilized, well then, I mean, that's a whole different picture. Okay, if you're not trying to have a family, that's not even within the scope of this video. This video is about actual love, not just having sex. This video is about the expectation of permanency and having a family, because that's usually what people are trying to do. They're trying to be together and continue to be together because they love each other, or they're trying to move on to other people, which is, if you ask me, the proper way to do it. It's how it works. That's pretty much the only way it works. Otherwise, you end up with other huge problems, such as needing facilities, needing taxation, stratification, infrastructure, politics, and all the things that support those things. Rely less on infrastructure, and behold, you need less infrastructure, as if by magic. Reach out if you like with questions or comments, and check out that show. It's really great. To whitehotrobot@gmail.com. Thank you.